Cloud and Clear, the podcast by SADA for innovative business leaders and technology enthusiasts, where we explore how Google Cloud is transforming the industry and what that means to you. Now here's your host, Tony Safoian.
Okay, I'm super excited to have today's guest with us on Cloud and Clear. Please welcome Partha Panda, CEO of Cysiv.
Tony, thank you so much for having me here today.
We just met recently, but it feels like we've known each other forever. I don't know why.
You know, it's a technology world. It definitely reduces distance, and I feel the technology business is so new, and it's such a small world. Everybody knows everybody else, but I find a lot of synergy between the company that we are building and Tony, your history and SADA system. So I see a lot of common grounds, and absolutely agree. It feels like we've known each other forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to talk about a little bit later how this pandemic is affecting everything. And there's a lot of negatives, tons of negatives, but I do feel in weird ways it has brought people closer together in some ways.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we've had a lot of technology and tools in the past at our disposal. And we took a lot of these for granted. I'm not sure if we extracted the value that's possible out of these tools. And we are stretching these tools now. And it does feel like, you know, every call that I've been with you has always been a video call, right? I've never done a phone call with you anymore, right? So true. I think in the past, we would probably do phone calls and such. So I absolutely agreed. In ways, it has absolutely drawn us together, and more importantly, we do have a common topic now to start off. Instead of the weather, totally. Now it's coronavirus, right? So
not only are we on video, but we're in each other's homes. Yes. We're inviting each other, like, this is my house, that's your house, this is my dog. Oh, these are my kids. It's very personal, very personal. So again, we met very recently. We engaged on some really great partnerships and enablement around Google Cloud. But before we get into any of that as well, I really want to know what led you to be the CEO of Cysiv. What was that journey like? I think we have a lot of listeners from different backgrounds, and they look at executives like Partha and say, how did he get there? I want to be Partha one day. And everyone has an interesting story. So let's go back as far back as you want. And let's start from there.
Fantastic. I honestly don't think I've accomplished anything great, but I'm happy to share my journey with yourself and the audience. So I was born and raised in India by trade or by education. I'm an engineer, and I specialized in electronics and telecommunication because back in the days, there was no specialization on computer science. So computer science was part of electrical engineering and part of electronics. So that's what set me onto this IT path, if you will. I really wanted to. It was too early, and computers just fascinated me, especially software, right? And I didn't even know what software meant back then. And I did my engineering and then started in some consulting companies, some large companies, moved out to Europe, and then eventually to the Valley in California, which is where I landed in the mid to late 90s. And I had an opportunity, a fantastic opportunity when I look back to work for a startup and get introduced to the whole disruption cycle in the Valley. This is mid to late 90s, you can imagine.
Being in the Valley in the mid to late 90s.
Those were the days. Right?
Those
were the days. And it was pre-dot-com boom. So we had an amazing run. I worked with a startup in the cybersecurity business. So 23 years back. And this was my entry into the cybersecurity business, which was so absolutely fascinating for me. Absolutely younger, and just being part of the disruption cycle and understanding how smaller companies can make such a massive impact in the global landscape, right? And it was also my introduction into cybersecurity for me. That was early in that journey, and cybersecurity was new. Nobody knew what cybersecurity was. So from that perspective, I am being really lucky to be a part of an industry which is young, and I was early in that journey. So I've seen a lot in the last 22 years that has happened. We sold that company at the peak in 2000 to another company called Entrust Technologies. And they were based out of Dallas and Ottawa. And that's when my association with both these cities started, with people in these cities and companies, and it was fascinating just working for Entrust. My first exposure to go through an acquisition and understand how this whole model works, and I got so fascinated. I thought I had to go and do my MBA to better understand this whole mergers and acquisitions world, which is new for me. My first time, as I said, I did my MBA, and right after Entrust, I had an opportunity to work with another startup, very fascinating. This is a company called Third Brigade, based out of Ottawa, founded by ex-executives out of Entrust, who I had known many years, and we were building a self-defending server. So that was the concept. This is 2004, and our vision was the server should be able to auto-adapt its security policy based on the footprint. So we were kind of early for its time with that technology, but a couple of things happened that was fantastic for the technology we were building. Number one, we saw the start of infrastructure decoupling, and what that meant is application and code, which used to be very hardware and server centric in the mainframe world, got into client and server. We're now taking that next leap in that journey with virtualization. Right now, you could have an application running on multiple machines on a single piece of hardware. So that, in my head, was the first stage in that infrastructure decoupling journey. And then right after that, a few years after, cloud happened, right? And so because we had this concept of self-defending server, we created a piece of software which would sit on any asset and provide security to it. So as assets, as workloads moved from physical to virtual to the cloud, our software traveled with it, and we became coupled with that journey, and we're able to add a lot of value. So fast forward, we were lucky to get an exit for Third Brigade. We sold to another large cybersecurity company, Trend Micro. And we all were, again, lucky to be a part of that build out that happened after the acquisition. Because we spotted some of these trends early, whether it was virtualization or cloud, we kind of took an all-in approach with these technologies. We would really go out, innovate, integrate deep into these platforms, deep into the fabric of these platforms, and bring in a unique solution for our customers. It's been more than 10 years since the acquisition, but in the 10 years we were there, we went on, and this, I like to think of it as a tiny company which started this technology. Obviously got a big boost with Trend Micro, all the muscles, the global sales and marketing access that we did, and people. We went on to get over $1 billion in revenue for that product.
Wow!
And today, the last time I counted, and I haven't checked recently, but we had over 5 billion instance hours in the cloud protected by that one technology that we built on a dining table, right? So that's how the journey started. So
I was going to ask you, what led you to stay for 10 years? And it seemed like you were definitely experiencing some magic with the growth and the support. So obviously a wonderful place Trend Micro was for 10 years, but also a great acquisition for them, apparently.
It worked out well for both. And you're right. I'm more of personally, I'm more of a look for the next big thing that you want to work on. What's new? How can we help customers better? And we saw that spirit inside Trend, and we also saw the growth that came with that acquisition. So it was fascinating for us. Again, a fantastic learning experience for myself personally, and everybody involved. Like 75% of Third Brigade is in some capacity still connected with Trend Micro, like 10 years later, right? So I had multiple roles in the company. I started by running biz dev and strategic alliances. So we worked with Amazon and Microsoft and Google, IBM, HP, and everybody, and that was fantastic. Then I went on to run a global channel in U.S. federal sales for all of Trend Micro. After that, I took on corporate strategy and M&A for all of Trend Micro. So we did some interesting acquisitions and divestitures, including acquiring Tipping Point out of HP and integrating that inside Trend Micro, another very successful acquisition for us. And then after that, we also launched a venture fund. It's called Trend Forward Capital. I was part of the founding team, and we launched this fund, and we are very active. We've invested in 13 companies so far, primarily around kind of big data, data science, automation, and that's kind of the common theme across all of our investments. And so as a part of that journey, as a part of that, somewhere when I was running corporate strategy and M&A, and with that fund, we had an ambition to do more inside the cybersecurity operations center, and we saw that could be the next wave of innovation for customers in the cybersecurity business. With Trend, we got an exposure to a lot of different technologies. We had technologies in the network, on the endpoints, in the cloud, and data centers, and so on. And one area where our customer asking us to do more was the Cybersecurity Operations Center, the SOC, which is think of it as the command center of anything cyber inside a customer. And we looked at the space, and our immediate reaction was to go and do an acquisition and then bring in an asset, and that would be a head start, and then we could do more. We're primarily an innovative company, like that's the DNA. And we looked at the space, and we spent a good amount of time just looking at the different technologies and opportunities to acquire. And at the end, we concluded that acquisition did not make sense, because this was a space where we felt it was ripe for disruption. There were technologies which have been around for 20, 22 years, and old architecture, and there was an opportunity to kind of follow and adopt a completely cloud-native new architecture, take advantage of all the developments on the cloud front. We also saw that cyber security inside the SOC had quickly become a big data problem. And so having just people thrown at the problem was not the solution. We had to have the right mix between technology and people. We also noticed that the amount of technology inside the SOC was just too high. There was just lots of fragmentation, lots of products, lots of tools, and customers had the responsibility to deal with all the complexity that comes with trying to integrate that many tools, not just the expenses of it, just integrating, and lose context when you move from one to another. And last but not the least is there is a huge skill set gap in the cybersecurity business today, right? We have over, I want to say maybe 2 million just in US alone by next year. And this is just US. If you look at global, it's much larger. And customers struggle with finding the right talent and so on.
Right.
So we saw a fantastic opportunity where we could have a brand new, a completely cloud-native modern architecture solution, right? Riding on data science automation, and have some experts behind the scenes hand-holding our customers. So that's what led to creation of Cysiv. It started as a project inside Trend Micro, a 10-people team where we tried to figure out what we want to build and what we want to do. And my co-founder, Justin Foster, was leading that team, and we were looking at the market and assessing what else is needed. And one thing led to another, and we started building this platform on our own and got really excited in 2018. So we started building in December of 2016, and we absolutely had the luxury, because we were inside Trend. We had access to the largest of customers and partners who helped us co-design that platform. So we started building that out, and in 2018, we got really excited. We thought, this needs more focus and concentration. And the other aspect of it was, for us to be successful inside SOC, we had to be vendor agnostic. So we thought it would be better off if it is spun out of Trend Micro and run as an independent company. So that's what we did in summer of 2018.
Oh, it's so interesting.
We kept building this platform. And in 2019, we went out to a select customer just to prove our hypothesis, right? The fact that it can scale, the fact that it can do what we promised it would do, right? And we had to validate that. So we went to some large and some really small customers so that we had the whole spectrum covered. But our interest was enterprise, because of the data. We had a lot of machine learning algorithms, and we needed training, and we needed the data to finesse these algorithms. And so we started with some large customers, and it was fascinating just being able to go into their environment and add value and show how quickly we can help go from kind of I want to say the legacy architecture and move to the modern architecture. And I won't say it was completely a lift and shift, because we were able to integrate into their existing workflows and businesses and so on. And then over a period of time, you start to sunset things that you think are not needed, right? So it was great, and we were excited with the traction, and we were getting by the end of 2019. We decided to go out and raise some external capital for the company, and that's why I call cybersecurity a really small world. We went out to Forgepoint Capital, which was founded by Alberto Yepes, who was the founder and CEO of the first startup that I was a part of.
Oh my goodness!
23 years back, and we obviously kept that relationship alive.
Amazing.
We had a couple of people who have helped us tremendously in the journey. Number one was Wayal Muhammad, who was the president and board member of Trend Micro. He was very instrumental in helping us kind of spin this company out. And then Alberto Yepes, who we've had a relationship with for a long time. He and his team came out and did a complete due diligence, and they had been looking at the space for over 3 years. And they hadn't seen, they were really happy to see what we had built. And luckily for us, they decided to lead our Series A early this year. Talk about timing. We closed our Series A in February, led by Forgepoint Capital and supported by Trend Forward Capital. And we raised $26 million. It's roughly $32 million or so in Series A. So here we are now. We are out to build our sales and marketing engine, and ready to take it to the next level.
That's so interesting. I mean, that's a narrative that like ties everything together so perfectly in the formation of Cysiv. And it's very interesting that actually you went out at Trend Micro and wanted to make an acquisition, but there was nothing to buy, right? So you built it yourself, and then you found sort of private equity firm that was actually also looking to invest, and they didn't have anything to invest in. So it's like just serendipitous that you found each other, and this was somebody you knew from decades ago, and it's amazing how it all came together. But I think that's, great validation. You were sitting inside of Trend Micro, saw the gap, wanted to go make an acquisition, didn't find anyone. And you were also in probably the best position to build something.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I think we're lucky to have started as a project inside Trend Micro because of the access we got through to customers and partners, where we could really understand the pain points better, and that led to the creation of this platform, and having the support that we did from everybody at Trend and the team that we assembled was fantastic.
So for those who are not experts in security, right, especially in the current sort of cloud era, and how those challenges are different than they were in the past, can you describe the core functionality of the platform and what it's addressing in the market?
Yeah. So we call it the SOC-as-a Service platform. So think of it as a SaaS-based platform, which is completely built on GCP, Google Cloud, and we ingest enterprise telemetry at scale. What that means is we get data from many different sources, both security products and the infrastructure. We take in all that data, and then our engine gets to work. Our data science and automation-driven engine gets to work. It churns through all the data to find out hidden threats, high-fidelity incidents, hidden threats in any environment. And then we automate the investigation process, so all that information is available on a single screen. And then we have our experts working directly with our customers and partners to help remediate the threats. So it's a complete end-to-end platform to help our customers take their journey forward in the SOC maturity lifecycle. And we start anywhere with that we see some really interesting projects. One of our customers, a very large Fortune 100 customers, is going through a massive digital transformation, right? So they are modernizing their apps and they're moving to a completely serverless and containers-based architecture where there is no physical infrastructure. And being able to support them through this journey where we are able to not only secure their assets in the cloud, but also secure these applications as we put a spotlight on and we are monitoring for any hidden threats and being able to remediate that has been a huge value for our customers. So in a nutshell, though, for those who are in the cybersecurity business, they can think of it as we are in the next generation of kind of the security incident and event management platform, which has multiple other technologies built in like SOAR and threat intel and analytics and so on to help customers stay ahead of the threats.
I mean, the security posture these days is so important. I mean, the threats are, I think, ever increasing, getting more sophisticated. The challenge is the volume of data that's being generated all the time. False positives, what's actually happening. And I mean, it's a cloud scale problem today because of how these applications are built and how big the applications are and the sort of the surface area of the potential threat is, right?
Absolutely, and if you look at the world around, everything has an IP address now. Everything is connected, starting from your cars to your, lamps to your printers, and everything has an IP address and sharing information. So you're absolutely right. The attack surface has increased, and more importantly, the amount of data being created has increased. So you really need an engine which can process through all these large amount of data to find that one needle in the haystack. And there's a good chance that you might miss it if you have just people scanning through data, right? You need technology at play.
So what's your view of, in your investment hypothesis, you just went and raised money, like what do you think the market opportunity is, the TAM? What does it look like?
Yeah, like I like to think cybersecurity has finally hit, I want to say, a critical velocity when it comes to adoption just worldwide. People do realize that the next battle is going to be fought on the internet, right? And there is you open up the newspaper or any website and you see every day there is a news on somebody getting breached and compromised and information getting stolen. So we feel that cybersecurity will continue to get a larger share of the wallet in most enterprises as they fortify their defenses, as they mature up what they've already invested in. Some are farther along in the journey, some are relatively new, but we feel there is more investment that's going in. And as companies are making investments into cybersecurity, to be able to leverage those investments, they need a proper monitoring system, a proper SOC, the command center I was talking about. And so from that perspective, we feel we're in the right kind of spot because if companies are investing in security controls and not ensuring that those controls are being applied properly, are being configured, optimized properly, you're not extracting the real value. And that's where the SOC comes in, right? So for us, everybody's a customer. Everybody who has ever bought any cybersecurity tool is a customer. So that's why our vision, when we started the company, even though we started at the enterprise so that we could learn and get the data, our vision is we want to democratize SIEM and threat hunting for everybody. Even smaller companies should be able to access that directly through the Cysiv platform or through a partner of ours, be able to get access to kind of a more modern SOC architecture, threat hunting, data science, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think if you ask CIOs what are their top 3 priorities, they always say security, 1 or 2, or let's say 3. Should really be 1 or 2. But traditionally, it has not been 1 or 2 in terms of actual priority. Like, what are you actually doing about it, right? Like, are you spending money? Are you building capabilities? Are you deploying a platform like Cysiv? I think traditionally they have not been doing that.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. So like I said, I was lucky to get into this journey very early, and I've seen a big evolution. It started off being a necessary expense. That's how security was treated back when.
Necessary
Right?
evil. Yeah,
necessary evil. I don't want to say evil. I'm in that space, so I want to call it a necessary expense. And it has evolved over the years as more of an enabler. So if you look at all the transformations that are happening together now, whether it's digital or cloud, cybersecurity continues to play a very important role in enabling those transformations. Right?
Absolutely.
And when in a shared responsibility model with the cloud, we help customers take that journey with confidence and assurance, and that's where it's become a board level conversation now, right? A cyber risk is now discussed at the board level, and for us, that's massive progress. And to your point, we have definitely seen a change in focus for sure.
And look, we're in the business of helping organizations through that digital journey, which ends up them having a larger cloud footprint. And, the conversation always goes like, is the cloud secure? Is GCP secure? Is Azure secure? Is it, whatever, right? AWS secure? It's like, yes, like at the core, they're extremely secure, probably more than you could do on your own at the core. But configuration, containerization, identity, proxy, all these other things, like they're still your responsibility. Like you have to monitor those things, because otherwise you end up with front page news, a S3 bucket with terabytes of critical data, right? It's not because, it was not an AWS mistake that happened. It was a customer that left something vulnerable.
I absolutely agree, Tony, and I could not agree with you anymore. We always believe cloud makes security better. Cloud provides an opportunity for enterprises to shore up their defenses. So inherently, cloud is absolutely secure, but every cloud platform provider will talk about a shared responsibility model. What you were saying earlier, right? The infrastructure is secure, but the application is customers. The data is customers. And the customers know it better than the providers themselves, right? So they have to have those proper defenses. And more importantly, monitoring in place. You can have all the defenses. It doesn't mean you still shouldn't put your cameras on in your house, right?
100%.
And that's what we feel the SOC's role is to make sure that the proper defenses are in place, and then you're monitoring on top to see if there are any hidden threats.
Yeah, you brought up cameras, and it's so funny how this whole concept is really entering the consumer world, right? I have these, Google Nix cameras, and they're monitoring, and it's like, well, it could alert me every time it sees a face, or it can alert me when it sees a new face or a different face, and that is a completely different experience, and you just extrapolate that to like millions of data points in a different paradigm. But that concept is the same. Like, show me the stuff that's relevant. Right?
Yeah, Tony, you just basically stated out our value prop in such easy language. You're absolutely right. It's about not showing every face, but focusing on what's the new face and then a potential threat. And that's where all the science and the innovation is going in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk about the recent sort of investment decision. We put you in a category, and as Google thinks of you, we think of you as you're a digital native customer, meaning your core business is the platform, right? And you've made a deliberate choice. You launched this thing a couple of years ago. You could have done it on any cloud. But you're in that category of not a 5 or 6 or 10-year-old digital native. You're a 2-year-old digital native. And we're seeing somewhat of a trend of companies that started in a digital native fashion the last couple of years, choosing Google for various reasons. But I really want to understand why you have chosen Google and your teams have chosen Google Cloud as the one to bet on.
Yeah, Tony, that's a good question, actually. Great question. So when we looked at building this platform out, what was important for us was to build a completely modern architecture. We did not want to take what already exists and move it to the cloud, and that would defeat the whole purpose. We had to extract the value out of the cloud. And for us, there were a couple of things. Obviously, the building blocks. I like to think of cloud as provider of fantastic foundational building blocks. We take that on, and you kind of innovate on top, and you create whatever you want to build on top. And what we were building in terms of our platform, we saw a lot of synergy, and we saw a lot of those building blocks from GCP, which could really help accelerate our journey and accelerate our time to market, right, in building this platform. So that was really important for us. Storage was important for us at an affordable price, right? So that's always I talked about big data, and storage kind of goes hand in hand. So it was important to have a platform that can scale cost effectively. And in our opinion, Google is definitely helping us with that. We have obviously driven innovation on top, as in we have a tiered storage model that we've designed on top of Google Storage, but we have the foundation. So that was important to us. We are big on data science and automation, and we could see that we could leverage a lot of the services from Google to help us. Again, it's about time to market, to be in the market faster. So these were some of the reasons and some of the considerations that we had when we chose GCP as a platform. We are obviously, in terms of data consumption, we are platform agnostic. We'll take data from every cloud source, platform out there. But in terms of building this service out, we are native to GCP.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's it has become, I think, kind of the choice of engineers. GCP has. We hear this from other customers who are built, relatively in the last couple of years. If you were built 10 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe you didn't feel like you had many choices. It's like AWS was the default, and that's what everybody used. But now, like, if we're letting the engineering folks pick, and there's not some legacy or technical debt or politics or other alliances, like you're just making the true decision based on performance and engineering and capabilities and ease of use, we're hearing more and more that, the choice is clear. And I think it sounds like that's part of what you ran into, but and what drove part of the decision, but that wasn't the only thing. The partnership with you that we've done with Google is very unique in that it brings forth the digital natives kind of an angle that is also driving a lot of value, or we hope will drive a lot of value over time for the long term, and is also differentiated. And it's really how we go to market together.
Yeah, and again, we are really excited to be partnering with yourself, Tony, and your team, as well as Google, and signing up as a Google co-sell partner. We see tremendous value as customers are taking this journey on for transformations where they're modernizing their apps. They're moving from their standard traditional on-prem environment to more hybrid setup or all cloud setup. We see, again, our role as an enabler, and excited about this partnership because now we have an opportunity to bundle all these together and make it really seamless for our customers to be able to acquire both the technology, the platform, and a security for cloud, from the cloud, from GCP, all together as one bundle. So I'm absolutely excited about the prospects of helping our mutual customers as they take on this journey. And I think we have I've definitely seen the talent at Google and SADA systems so far, and I know my team is excited to be partnering with both.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting, and this is just fundamentally byproduct of cloud economics and how this market works. This co-selling thing and this sort of like joint go-to-market thing wouldn't exist if the incentives were not so aligned to begin with. Like, of course, we want Cysiv to be wildly successful, and so does Google, because that means you will consume and need more GCP. Like, it's a very linear value proposition, right? And it's a beautiful thing because it actually drives the incentives for everyone to do the right thing all the time.
I completely agree, Tony, and I think you hit the key word there. Our incentives are aligned. Our motivations are aligned, right? We obviously all want to serve our mutual customers and drive businesses for each other. And this Google Co-sell program helps us with that alignment. So, and it provides a platform to have that discussion, right? Because there is something unique that we are creating together between the three of us.
Correct.
And being able to get a platform where we are able to state what that combined value is, and then being able to help our customers is fantastic.
Yeah, and Google's relatively choosy. Not everybody gets to be part of the co-sell. Like it has to be unique value proposition, has to be GCP native, has to fill a gap that we feel like there's a market need for. So I'm excited about that. And that relationship and journey is just starting. I mean, we're basically married now for many, many years. So we have to make each other successful.
I love it. We are absolutely honored to be a part of this relationship for sure, and are thankful that Google has seen the strategic value of what we have built, and are really excited about. We are already working on some joint opportunities, believe it or not. Like we just signed the agreement, and we already have opportunities where we're working together. So I'm really excited about what we can accomplish.
We are as well, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on Cloud and Clear.
Tony, thank you again for having me as a guest. It's always a pleasure chatting with you, and I always find our conversations very fascinating. In terms of just sharing my experiences, maybe I'll leave it with a couple of things. You asked me about my journey, and I've always felt an area that I'm extremely grateful for down the years is I've had some amazing people that I have worked with and some amazing mentors on the way. And I continue to build those relationships and seek those relationships. So I'm looking forward to working with yourself and your team and the broader Google team, the culture and what we are trying to build and so on. I'm absolutely fascinated, and our whole team is in helping our customers as they go through this journey. And there is customer-centric approach that is built into our DNA, which we hope to kind of build this platform out and build this company out where we are more instrumental in customer success. I always think about our journey and what we are trying to do either inside Cysiv or together. We are very early. We are very early when it comes to data science and automation. We're just scratching the surface. There is so much more we can accomplish, right? We're still early in cybersecurity. There is so much more that can be done. So it was important for us to build a learning organization where we are learning together, right? We are learning with the customer, with yourself, with Google, and there is so many new things we'll learn every day, and that absolutely fascinates us. And I'm hoping I get to meet other companies who are working on disruptive technologies and get to learn from them while we share our own experiences. So, thank you again for having me as a guest, and I look forward to working with you and the broader Google team, Tony.
I could not agree more that this is just the beginning. For so many organizations in their journey. And it's so fortunate to be in a position to help and to be in a position to serve. And we love doing that with you and with Google Cloud and looking for a fantastic many years ahead. And thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @CloudandClear and our website, SADA.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.